20 years ago, I got dealt a dysfunctional card. My little brother became a heroin addict, and my father became an alcoholic. What do? Do I sit there and join my little brother, or do I become an alcoholic alongside my father? No, I got off my arse, I stopped feeling sorry for myself, and I got on with it.
Gordon Ramsay might seem like a bully on television, but he has had one of the most traumatic childhoods to exist. He grew up with an angry father who took out his rage on the family. His mother was left beaten and his brother was on drugs. Chef Ramsay escaped the toxic environment by working in the kitchen, and even though he might find coping in cooking, the dark past will always haunt him. So let's get into it. Chef Gordon Ramsay is a tough guy on TV, and sometimes he rubs people the wrong way, but I have a feeling he is this way because of his violent childhood. He's gone through so much trauma, which has made him a harsh person. In 2007, Chef Ramsay wrote a piece about his childhood, saying that his father had been a less than perfect role model who battled alcoholism and would beat his mother. He wrote that anytime he or his siblings gave his mother a present, it would be smash because his father was so nasty to his mother that anything that was hers had to be destroyed. It got so bad that at some points the police were called and his father was sent to prison, his mother was sent to the hospital because of her injuries, and the children had to go to a child's home.
Dad had had a couple of drinks. Mum was in bed with a mug of hot milk. He poured it all over her as she lay there. Then he dragged her downstairs and the beating started. By the time the ambulance arrived, her eyes were completely closed, her face swollen. First she was taken to a hospital, then to a refuge. Dad, of course, disappeared at the first sound of a police siren.
He said that no child should live in fear in their home, but his mother feared for her life constantly, and his father would go around and move the family from place to place because he would fight with a neighbor or fight with a coworker. He was constantly fighting with people.
His favorite punishment was the belt. He'd get whacked on the back of the legs for something that was as innocent as going to the fridge and drinking his Coke. I say whacked, the truth is, or he'd get completely fucked over for that sort of thing. Mum was getting knocked about, and not having had any other experience with men, she assumed that this was what every woman had to put up with. My tactic was to keep my head down and my nose clean, until I was big enough to take him on in a fight.
It is so sad to think that his mother and he and his siblings went through all of this. It's also hard for me to just conceptualize what his mother must have been thinking, not in a negative way, but just in a psychological way, because like Gordon shared, his mother thought this was normal and he doesn't understand why she stayed. I mean, she deserved so much better, and he says that it still pains him how she was treated by this monster. But his mother didn't know anything else, and she thought that this type of behavior was normal, which is so depressing.
I'd crossed the line when I was 15, and one night I came back late. I'd already been given some kind of big radio for the upcoming birthday, and he threw it at me from the top of the stairs. "I can't believe you've done that," I said. "You know damn well that Mum bought it for me." He came storming down the stairs. At first, I stood my ground. Then I saw the look in his eyes. For the first time, I felt he really might kill me, and I bolted.
Gordon Ramsay's father is giving me serial killer vibes. And throughout this show, I'm just thinking about Hell's Kitchen and how he's such a tough guy on there. But you can tell that Gordon Ramsay has love for what he does and for the people that he works with. It seems like this man is loveless. And like I said, the authorities started catching on because the police were called, the mom was in the hospital. So there was a case being built against his father.
A few days later, I tracked him down. She asked for it, he said. That was when the social services and all the other authorities got fully involved, and a restraining order was taken out on him. He wasn't allowed anywhere near the house. Later, my feelings for him hardened into hatred. I drove back to London and I went straight back into the kitchen, working as hard as ever, trying not to think, or at least to think only about the next order. I don't think I've ever needed my kitchen so much in all my life.
I think really talented people come from these difficult places because Gordon Ramsay found his coping through cooking. And that's why he did so well in it, because he couldn't focus on what was going on back at home. He needed to be right there in the moment. He said that he was loved by his mother and he thinks he was loved by his father, but he was desperate to get out of that home. Despite Gordon Ramsay's father being an absolute monster, his father also had a closer relationship with his brother Ronnie. So it was even tougher for Gordon because he didn't really even bond with his father in any way.
Morbid Facts, Part 352. Gordon Ramsay's father was a violent alcoholic who regularly abused he and his mother. One of his favorite things to do was to call Gordon a gay little boy because cooking was for poofs. He became so aggressive at times that Gordon and his mom often feared for their lives while at home.
Gordon Ramsay does share that he has some regrets when it comes to his father. I think it's really interesting because a lot of people in this case, they would be like, you know what, I regret not hearing him out or making amends. But Gordon actually did make up with his father back in 1997 because he was going to pass away, and he regrets doing that. I mean, he regrets making peace with this man who, I guess, since then he's realized how much trauma he's been put through because of him, that I guess like Gordon regrets ever like letting him believe that he was forgiven. And even though Gordon Ramsay's father made fun of him for cooking, he's built an empire out of it. And he and his wife have also done a lot of work to fight domestic violence against women and children. He actually works with charities in the UK to try to protect little kids like he once was in a home which was completely abusive. And while Ronnie may have been Gordon Ramsay's father's favorite child, he didn't have an easy life either, and he also struggled with heroin. Gordon shares that we've done everything we can to help him. Now he just sort of binges and disappears. According to The Sun, Ronnie Ramsay started out using cocaine and then later on moved to heroin. His addiction was reportedly so severe that he wasn't able to make it to his father's funeral. Gordon tried to get his brother at the service, but Ronnie was a desperate heroin addict and he was refusing to go.
20 years ago, I got dealt a dysfunctional card. My little brother became a heroin addict and my father became an alcoholic. What do? Do I sit there and join my little brother, or do I become an alcoholic alongside my father? No. I got off my ass, I stopped feeling sorry for myself, and I got on with it.
Gordon just got up, he went to the kitchen, and he took his mind away from what was going on with his father, his mother, and his little brother. It actually turns out in 2007, Ronnie was arrested in Bali with 100 milligrams of heroin on him, which is really illegal, I believe, especially in like Southeast Asia. Comment below if you guys are familiar, but I believe like the Philippines and a lot of those countries are so against drugs. So he could have faced 10 years, but he ended up staying in prison for 10 months.
Sudah selesai ya, dan sidang selanjutnya menyatakan ditutup.
You have to admit, after watching that video, this family has strong genes. They all look very alike. Since being released from prison, Ronnie ended up on the streets of the UK. He told the press in 2009, "I'm down on my luck and I haven't had any contact with Gordon or my mom for a while. They have wiped their hands of me." Gordon wrote in his book that Ronnie actually threatened his brother and his family in an effort to get money from the famous sibling. In 2017, Gordon revealed on the Jonathan Ross show that his brother continued to struggle with drugs, and they've done everything they can to help him, but he just wants money to feed his addiction. And I think Gordon is very thankful for where he ended up compared to the rest of his family. He said they lived in bunk beds. They were only 14 months apart. Their lives were so similar, but so different at the end. Quote, "I've got that stern reminder on a daily basis, and I remind myself how different it could have been if I'd gone down a different road and felt that the country owed me something rather than fighting for something." In 2017, Gordon Ramsay actually worked on a project to call out cocaine and it being created and distributed, and he said that he wanted to work on this piece to warn his children away from the drug.
I found a contact with criminal connections in the southeast of England and set up a covert meeting with a top cocaine dealer.
So I'm waiting for a pickup. Guys are going to take me into a hotel to meet a big dealer.
he's a major player. He must be making a fortune and responsible for a lot of it that's hitting the streets. So the chance of him getting caught, is he armed, is he not? Who knows?
Gordon didn't just do this documentary to prevent his kids from using the drugs, but he says in the restaurant business, there's a lot of drug use, and he saw a lot of people use cocaine and ruin their lives, and he wanted to essentially expose it. Gordon Ramsay himself has seen the darker side of drugs and addiction firsthand. Years earlier, he had lost a colleague to cocaine. Quote, "We had dinner that night right before he passed. I wish I'd seen the signs earlier." So Gordon Ramsay has a terrible relationship with his dysfunctional family. And I mean, it's a godsend that he was able to make it out the other side. But he also has other family members who have been problematic as well, including his father-in-law, Chris Hutchinson, who was arrested and jailed for conspiring with his sons to access Gordon's firm's computer system almost 2,000 times. So his wife's father is trying to get information on him for what? Gordon's brother-in-laws are Adam and Chris Jr. They each worked in IT roles, and I guess they worked at Gordon's company. So they worked for him, and they were still trying to screw him over. One day alone in February 2011, Hutchinson had accessed the computer system 600 times, while Adam Hutchinson, the brother, did the same thing 282 times. They were trying to gain some information on Gordon Ramsay's intellectual property rights because they were going to go into a lawsuit, and they wanted to gather information to use against him. And some of the information is stupid. I guess like Gordon Ramsay allegedly had a hair transplant, and they're going to expose that. So this stupid stuff ended these people up in jail. And it all stems from the fact that he caught his family stealing from his company 1.4 million pounds. So a ton of money has disappeared. These guys did it. And then when you try to challenge them on it, they go into your systems to gather information to use that against you. And not only did the family end up in jail, but actually his wife's father, so his father-in-law, was exposed for having a secret family. He had a mistress and 2 other children on the side, and this extra press ended up leading him to being exposed for that. Gordon shares that it was a hard pill for Tana to swallow, knowing her father was out to destroy us as a family, but she had it out with him. He laid his cards on the table. He's apologized to all of us, and I think there's a line in the sand now. So it's nice that they have been able to make amends, but I don't think I could be as forgiving. So far, it seems like Gordon Ramsay is a perfect person, but nobody's perfect. And he actually was exposed for having 3 different affairs right before his 12th wedding anniversary. One woman named Sarah claims that she and Gordon had been in an on and off relationship for 7 years. She met him at a nightclub in London back in 2001, and they have had 7 intimate moments over the past 7 years.
Gordon Ramsay's all over the papers, facing claims he's had a 7-year affair. The TV chef staying silent over the allegations he's been seeing author Sarah Simmons. She's a woman who had a year-long affair with Jeffrey Archer and also penned a book in America called Having an Affair, a Handbook for the Other Woman.
And she wrote about Gordon Ramsay, writing that he complained about his relationship with his wife and said it was so bad that he had to sleep in the basement. Sarah actually calls herself a professional mistress. So she was a mistress to married men, I guess, all over. And Sarah actually claims she met Gordon's wife at one point. Over their relationship, they hung out 18 times. So she's got like, I guess, a record book of everything. And she said when she met his wife, Tana, she felt very awkward. Quote, "At one point in the evening, I called Gordon Big Boy because he is very well endowed, and he told me to keep my voice down." Sarah also claims that she had phone intimacy with him several times. Quote, "It was particularly dirty phone sex and involved pictures. I thought we should not be doing it because it was too dangerous. Anyone could have overheard what he was saying." We actually learned about the 2 other women that he had allegedly cheated on his wife with because he told Sarah, and he also told Sarah that she was his soulmate.
You have been quite a famous mistress. A couple of big names we can throw, ex-mistress, okay, a couple of big names we can throw around, Lord Archer, famous one, and Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, imagine if you knew the others.
When this book came out, Gordon did have something to say. He said, I actually called her on that day it came out and I said, what the hell are you doing? You know this isn't true. Gordon actually says that Sarah was like a stalker. They had no romantic relationship and she was following him everywhere he went. He was quoted saying, come on though, if I really was going to cheat, it wouldn't be with a complete slapper. Trying to insinuate that maybe Sarah wasn't attractive enough for him to cheat on Tana with. And even though these are false claims, he never sued Sarah over the allegations, which I thought he would certainly do that if they weren't true. Gordon claims that that situation actually made his relationship with his wife stronger, which I believe. That's not the only book that has come out against him, because this man named Marco, who was actually Gordon's mentor, said that he dramatically broke Gordon Ramsay when he worked in his restaurant, and he created this monster we see on TV. Marco trained Gordon at his restaurant Harvey's and, quote, exposed him to daily rituals of humiliation, foul language, flying knives, and almost unbearable pressure. He had been a prodigy at Harvey's, and he was always a hard worker and showed a tremendous resilience when it came to his beratings. Quote, he never cracked, or rather, he never cracked until the final night at Harvey's. I don't recall what he had done, but I had yelled at him and he lost it. Gordon crouched down in the corner of the kitchen, buried his head into his hands, and started sobbing. Quote, I don't care what you do to me, he said. Hit me, I don't care. Sack me, I don't care. So he had a full breakdown at work. And in my opinion, I feel like he probably was going through it because of what was going on at home, seeing so much terrible things go down, and then going to work and having your boss treat you like crap. He was just probably completely broken. But I want to hear what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you in a new video soon. Bye, guys.